Chinese mercenary broke silence and reached out to social media.
Yep.
And said that he was aware of North Koreans fighting for Russia in Ukraine, right? Which it's not good because here's the deal. This is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
Shouldn't be involving others.
When another nation is involved, then you're escalating this into much darker territories, right?
Sure.
I do have a write-up about that. But here's the deal. The interesting thing is that North Korea is one of China's biggest allies.
Yes.
Russia at this point is pretty much China's ally. North Korea is pretty much Russia's ally, right? All three of this triumvirate, let's throw Iran in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But this triumvirate of authoritarian states kind of need each other in some way.
Yeah.
The problem is
they
that
get jealous.
Yes, because China doesn't. You'd think they'd be happy about this because they have been selling stuff to Russia. They have. I think
they've allowed Russia to use their banking system.
Yes,
and,
to avoid sanctions and things like this. Right? They're working together.
Sure.
Why not throw North Korea into the mix? The problem is that China wants full control over North Korea. It's like their vassal state.
Yeah.
So when Russia starts buddying up to North Korea and North Korea starts buddying up to Russia, China actually, at the end of the day, doesn't actually trust Russia, and Russia doesn't actually trust China.
Yeah.
And so the be-all and end-all is that China doesn't like that there's a third country in this mix because China needs it as a buffer state to keep the U.S. out via South Korea.
Yes.
So if you start relinquishing your control or your power over this vassal state that you have on your border here in North Korea, then you've lost a lot of influence in the region.
It's true.
And it's very dangerous. There's a quote here. This is from Ian Bremer. It says, for Beijing, the deployment of troops from Pyongyang is the latest and most alarming sign of Moscow's encroachment. He says, I think they're very uncomfortable with it. He runs Eurasia Group, a consulting firm based in New York. If the North Koreans are actually sending troops to fight with the Russians, then clearly the level of Russian willingness to support North Korea to help defend North Korea is going to be equivalent, he told the NBC News in an interview on Thursday. And that really, in many ways, supplants China as North Korea's most important protector.
Yeah.
That is something they can't afford.
Yeah, they don't want that. They're too jealous,
Interestingly enough, with this whole conflict, it's brought up a lot of questions. And you guys were asking, does this now bring China into the fold? And does this now kick off a world war? Because now you have a situation where two countries are, one country's invaded, the belligerents, right? Then you have an outside party being asked by one of the belligerents to come join.
Yes.
And it becomes an international affair.
Right? It becomes a world war.
Yeah, it becomes in a way, right?
Yes.
But I do have some answers to that. Is it a world war? While it could escalate the conflict still further, it is not serious to suggest that the mere presence of these troops will broaden the conflict into a world war. South Korean and Ukrainian officials said approximately 10,000 North Korean troops are being sent to Russia, including an initial batch of around 1,500 fighters. Russia's potential training and deployment of North Korean troops in Ukraine marks another critical stage in the conflict, but it will not bring about a wider global war, said James Rogers, the director of research at the UK-based Council on Geostrategy think tank. I like to hear things like this because we don't want World War III kicking off because North Koreans decided to show up in Ukraine.
Yeah.
But there is some comedy here.
Okay.
I promise there's a little bit of comedy because I know this is like a very grim conflict.
Okay, so what is
this?
Okay.
North Korean troops deserting Ukraine frontline days after arrival. So you imagine these North Korean troops show up.
Yeah.
And they are thrown into the absolute pits of hell. For example, pull up the next picture. Let's say you're a North Korean. You get on a plane in Vladivostok and they black out the windows because they don't want you to see how nice everything is in Russia compared to North Korea. You get on this plane and they drop you off on the front lines and you just see bombed out Ukraine. And your first instinct as a North Korean soldier is like, this is awesome.
Wow.
This is beautiful. I'm getting my freedom.
Exactly.
I'm to just bolt.
Yeah. Well,
right.
I mean, there is green. There's some color there.
Yes. And as grim as this is, my point is that when you live in abject poverty and starvation, also in an authoritarian state where your government literally controls every aspect of your life, and you have worms in your body, there's no medical care, you're starving to death, and you still have to fight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this looks better, but your chances for freedom just increased. You're willing to sacrifice
Yeah,
your life.
we've seen North Korea with our own eyes.
Yes.
We were on the border. We looked into North Korea.
And that's the wealthy area.
We saw how people live there, and it's not nice.
It's bad, right?
Yeah.
So you imagine when you see these people, these North Koreans getting shot, running across the DMZ, right? Trying to get into South Korea.
Did you almost say DMV?
I almost said DMV. Yeah. It's let's be honest.
It's like a war zone.
It's kind of like a war zone.
Okay.
So you run across to
Look, there's a DMV. I just ran across a DMV.
I go register my car. They go across the DMZ, right? And they risk their life for freedom, right? They're gonna do the same in a conflict for someone else's war.
You're already out of the country.
You're already out of the country. And you're going into potential area where you could get refuge, and then maybe be taken in by a European country or something, right? They have all these outlets in Ukraine where people can get into Poland and all these places, right? Sure. Their first instinct, if they're smart, is let's get out of here.
Sure.
Why am I fighting for another country's war?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, of course.
Pretty insane.
Yeah.
There was some audio apparently, as you can read this. It was interesting.
What the F to do with them? Russian soldiers heard condemning North Korean recruits in intercepted audio. This is from CNN.
I just wanted to show some of the brotherhood between Russia, China, and North Korea.
Russian soldiers have been heard raising concerns about how North Korean soldiers will be commanded and provided with ammunition and military kit. Leaked intercepts obtained by the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine and released on Friday show. Oh, they show. Yeah, okay. The Russian soldiers talk disdainfully about the incoming North Korean soldiers, codenamed the K Battalion, at one point referring to them as the effing Chinese. That's insulting.
Well, here we go.
Yeah.
Authoritarian countries and their partnerships are based on what? What are they based on?
Yeah.
Nothing,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Nobody likes each other here in this scenario, right? There's not the Russian soldiers didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to be inclusive of Asians now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing changed, right?
Yeah, exactly. At least get their nationality correct.
I know.
Anyway, it's more of the same.
Yeah.
Very insulting stuff. They're obviously not very happy to deal with them.
No. It's all just a cluster F, let's be honest, right? Look at that. That just looks so regarded.
Tiger and a
leopard. Do you remember in Shenzhen at the zoo when they had the cat incinerator?
This is a boa constrictor. Oh, a cat? I mean, a pig?
这叫白兔。
What is that? A panda crocodile? What is going on? This is
this is a Sika deer, guys. You know what a Sika
deer
deer is? Those tiny Chinese deer. Sheep or goat, goose, horse. Could it be a little pony?
Let's find out.
Okay.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind